stands out well above the rest. Even though he was bred in New Zealand, he didn't race there and was quickly adopted as an Australian horse. He was by night raid out of the mare Entreaty and cost a paltry 160 guineas. The horse, who was to become known as the Red Terror, was distinctively marked, with two hind white fetlocks and black spots on the thighs. But the man who originally bought him, Mr. David Davis, was not impressed with his looks when the horse arrived in Australia. So he agreed to lease him to battling trainer Harry Telford for 3 years. Little did Mr. Davis know what he was signing away.
It was the time of the Great Depression, and few people could afford to arrive at Flemington in style like this in 1930. The Wall Street crash reverberated throughout Australia. The two mainstays of the country's economy, wheat and wool, fell drastically in price. Unemployment spread like a cancer. The Depression shocked a young country. America sneezed and we caught cold.
But the doom and gloom was forgotten on that special Tuesday in November because of one massive horse, Phar Lap, the Red Terror, who stood a giant 17-1 hands. And he was also head and shoulders above the rest in his deeds, drawing a huge crowd of 80,000 to see the 1930 Cup. That is 80,000 paid. About half that number couldn't afford the admittance price, but they were not to be denied. They watched the Cup from over there on Scotsman's Hill for nothing. But whether you were a paying patron or not, whether you came to the course in a car like this or walked, Big Red put on the show of all shows. He cantered home by 3 lengths to become the only Cup winner to score at odds on. He was certainly the bright spot for thousands of people in uncertain times.
There was high drama on the Saturday before the Cup. Phar Lap had been very heavily backed. As he returned from work at Caulfield, gunmen tried to shoot him, but Tommy Woodcock saved him. It was the Saturday morning before the Cup. Phar Lap was engaged that day in the Melbourne Stakes. He ran and he won. He was then taken to this glorious piece of racing heritage, St Albans Stud at Geelong, 40 miles from Melbourne and owned by VRC committeeman Guy Raymond. Phar Lap arrived in the dark and in secret. Tommy Woodcock recalls it well.
On the Monday morning, with Mr Raymond, we had a gate at the back and we worked in a couple of times at Geelong racecourse Monday morning, and then Tuesday morning I just took it for a walk around his stud, because that's when the float was late then to go to the races. It was raining like anything, or I don't know how late, it took us half an hour to start the float, I suppose. But anyhow, we eventually got there because we had police protection all the way, so, you know, we made it all right. A little bit late into the course, but we made it all right. Like the police kept the crowd well away from him because, you know, we had terrible threats with him, what they're going to do. They're going to throw acid in his eyes and one thing and another at the Flemington. But we had good police protection, but the crowd, because he was a crowd lover, Phar Lap. Everybody loved old Phar Lap. And because as soon as they seen him entering the enclosure, they clapped and cheered. It was wonderful to hear them, the people.
From Barrier Rise, there was never any doubt that he would win. Just look at that stride, and look at the hold Jim Pike has on him. The Cup was only one of 4 great wins for the mighty horse in that week.
Well, he won the Melbourne Stakes quite easy, and then he come out and he won the Melbourne Cup on the Tuesday, and on the Thursday, I'll never forget the day, he come out on the Thursday, and of course Oaks Day, you know, all the women dress up. And when I was leading him up in the enclosure, they stood up in the stand and they cheered him and waved him. And of course, he duly won that. It was only 2 miles on the Tuesday and then saddled up 1.5 miles again on the Thursday. It's a great effort. And then on the following Saturday, he saddled him up again the following Saturday, 1.5 miles on the following Saturday. And of course all the crowd loved him that much. They all stood up and cheered and clapped him. And of course when I legged old Jim on, Mr Tofford come out legged old Jim on him. Everybody sang out, "Hungry Harry, Hungry Harry."
Phar Lap had started in the Cup of 1929 the previous year as a 3-year-old and finished third. Bobby Lewis was the rider. Phar Lap was installed as the shortest priced favourite in the history of the Cup to that stage at even money. Now listen, this old film has a soundtrack. For the first time, the sights and sounds of the Cup were recorded. Incidentally, the winner was Night March.
Bobby Lewis, he didn't go. Very generous of Bobby Lewis. And of course, Bobby stirred him pretty well at the barrier, and of course when he did, he jumped out, and of course he couldn't hold him. He fought him all the way until about the 3 furlong post, and when he let him go to race, he went back in the field, and then he finished on again and ran third in it. But he had a dreadful mouth after, the poor horse. He could hardly eat for 3 or 4 days after his mouth was cut about that much.
In 1931, Big Red was again favourite for the Cup, but Tommy felt the horse was tired and overtrained.
Oh, he didn't think he didn't think he had any chance whatever. He said, you know, he used to worry a lot about the horse, and all he said, he looked down to me and he said, "Son," he said, "I won't knock him about." He said, when he's had enough, he said, "I won't hurt him."
Big Red finished 8th. Before the Cup, Phar Lap's connections had accepted an invitation to take on the best horses in the world at Agua Caliente, just